TS Pretoria was a ship that had a long and varied career as first a German cargo liner, then a U-boat depot ship, hospital ship, British troop ship, Muslim pilgrim ship, and finally an Indonesian naval accommodation ship. Description: the ship was 547 feet 8 in long, with a beam of 72 feet 5 in. She had a depth of 31 feet 5 in, with a draft of 26 feet. As built, she was assessed at 17,362 GRT. Following her 1958 refit, she was assessed as 17,891 GRT. As built, the ship was powered by 6 steam turbines, rated at a total of 14,000 shp. These were fed by a number of small, high-pressure Benson boilers. The turbines drove twin-screw propellers and could propel the ship at 18 knots. In 1949, the Benson boilers were replaced by convention boilers, made by Foster Wheeler, operating at 500 pounds per square inch. In 1973, she was re-engined, being fitted with a diesel engine. As built, the ship had accommodation for 152 first-class and 338 second-class passengers. In 1949, she was converted to a troop ship, with accommodation for 1,491 troops. In 1959, she was refitted to carry 106 first-class and 2,000 pilgrim-class passengers. History: pre-war Pretoria was built as Yard No. 536 by Blohmen am Voss, Hamburg, Germany. She was launched on 16 July 1936. She was one of a pair of sister ships completed that year for Deutsche Ost Afrika-Linie, the other being TS Windhoek. The code letters DJSG were allocated. Pretoria began her maiden voyage from Hamburg on 19 December 1936. Her destination was Lourenço Marques, Mozambique via Southampton, United Kingdom, Lisbon, Portugal, Casablanca, Morocco, Cape Town, Johannesburg and Pretoria, South Africa. On 24 December, having departed from Southampton with 470 passengers and 300 crew on board, she ran aground on the East Leap Bank in the Solent. Although 5 tugs attempted to free her, she remained aground. After 900 tons of water had been discharged overboard and 400 tons of fuel oil had been transferred to a tanker, she was freed with the aid of 7 tugs on 26 December, losing her port anchor in the process. Pretoria returned to Southampton for inspection, resuming her voyage the next day. As a result of the delays incurred, the calls at Lisbon and Casablanca were omitted. Deutsche Ost Afrika-Linie operated her mainly between Hamburg, Southwest Africa and South Africa. On 20 May 1937, Pretoria was involved in a collision with the British tanker Hecla during foggy weather in the North Sea. Hecla was badly damaged amidships and jettisoned some of her cargo. Pretoria stood by whilst tugs were sent from Bremen, Germany to Hecla's aid. World War II. In November 1939, Pretoria was requisitioned by the Kriegsmarine and used as a U-boat depot ship. Initially based at Kiel, Schleswig-Holstein, she served the 1st U-boat flotilla, based at Neustadt, Hamburg, from January 1940. In December she was transferred to 21st U-boat flotilla, based at Pillau, East Prussia. In 1945, she was converted to a hospital ship. Pretoria assisted in the evacuation of German civilians from the Eastern Territories towards the end of the war. In May 1945 she was in Copenhagen when Denmark was liberated, and UK forces captured her as a prize of war. Post-war civil service. Pretoria was passed to the Ministry of War Transport, converted to a troop ship at Newcastle upon Tyne. She was renamed Empire Dune. The moat placed her under the management of the Orient Steam Navigation Company. Empire Dune suffered boiler trouble in Port Said, Egypt, was towed back to Falmouth, Cornwall by the Admiralty tug Bustler. She was then laid up off Southend-on-Sea, Essex. Empire Dune was moved to Southampton, Hampshire in May 1947. In 1949, she was reboilered by J.I. Thornycroft and Ampco of Southampton, and converted to a troop ship at a cost of £2 million. Trials were undertaken in November 1949, but had to be curtailed due to engine problems. Her maiden voyage as a troop ship, scheduled for the 10th of December, was postponed. Sea trials resumed on the 29th of December. The refit of Empire Dune was completed in January 1950 and she was renamed Empire Orwell to conform with the Ministry of Transport policy of ship names being prefixed Empire and Orient Line policy of using names beginning with O. She had capacity for 1,491 troops in 3 classes. Empire Orwell departed on her maiden voyage as a troop ship on 17 January 1950 bound for Tobruk, Libya and Port Said, Egypt. She served as a troop ship in the 1956 Suez Crisis, landing troops in Cyprus and evacuating troops from the Suez Canal zone. In April 1958, Empire Orwell was damaged during storms in the Atlantic Ocean. She was towed into Lisbon, Portugal by a German tug. There were complaints about conditions on board Empire Orwell when she was returning troops from the Far East to the United Kingdom in 1958. The issue was raised in Parliament by Horace King, MP. In reply, Alfred Barnes, the Minister of Transport, stated that complaints about missing air entrance encountered in the early part of the voyage were swiftly resolved. Complaints that soldiers below the rank of sergeant were generally unable to visit the families were stated to be a matter of military discipline. Later that year, she was chartered to the Pan-Islamic Steamship Co. of Karachi, Pakistan, who used her to carry Muslim pilgrims. Alfred Holt Namco bought her in November of that year and renamed her Galang Jati after the 16th-century Javanese Wali Sangha Sun and Galang Jati. She was placed her under the management of Ocean Steamship Co., Liverpool, Lancashire. Galang Jati was refitted by Barclay Curlin Ampco Limited in Glasgow, Scotland. The refit increased her displacement to 17,851 GRT. She was fitted with a mosque and was fitted with indicator which would point towards Mecca. On 7 March 1959, she sailed for Jakarta, Indonesia. She could carry 106 first-class passengers and 2,000 pilgrim-class passengers. In 1962, the Indonesian government bought Galang Jati, transferred her to the Indonesian flag and continued to operate her as a pilgrim ship. In 1964, PT Maskapai Peliharaan Sang Saka of Jakarta bought her and continued to operate her in the same service. She was sold to Perusahaan Peliharaan Arafat, Jakarta. In 1973, her boilers and steam turbines were replaced with diesel engines, and in 1975 she was refitted in Hong Kong. Indonesian Naval Service. In 1979, the Indonesian government bought Galang Jati back, renamed her Kri Tanjung, with the pennant number 971. She was used by the Indonesian Navy as a troop ship until 1981, and then as an accommodation ship. She had ceased to serve in this role by 1984. Tanjung was sold in 1987 to Taiwan for scrapping. Replacement naval ship. In 2003, Indonesia commissioned an amphibious transport dockship from Daesun Shipbuilding and Engineering of Busan in Korea, which entered service as the Kri Tanjung Dalpil. She has since been converted to a hospital ship and renamed Cree Dr. Soha's Own.